What if I told you that the most important moment from Monday Night Raw did not happen inside the ring, did not happen under the bright lights, and did not happen in front of a single camera? What if the moment that could completely reshape the entire landscape of WWE took place in a dark, echoing parking garage after the fans had already gone home, with nothing but silence and 11 years of bad blood hanging in the air between two men who used to call each other brothers? Because that is exactly what happened after Raw went off the air, and once you hear every detail of what went down between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns beside that car in that garage, you are never going to look at either one of these men the same way again. Stay with me, because this one is going to hit different. Monday Night Raw was already one of the most chaotic and emotionally charged episodes we have seen in years. The T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas was absolutely electric from the opening bell to the closing segment, and by the time the night was over, the entire foundation of WWE's storylines had been shaken to its core. Roman Reigns made his presence felt in a massive way, standing in the ring alongside Jimmy and Jey Uso and signaling to the entire world that the Bloodline, one of the most dominant factions in WWE history, was potentially back in business. The three of them hit the ones-up pose together for the first time in what felt like an eternity, and the crowd completely lost their minds. It was the kind of moment that reminds you why you fell in love with professional wrestling in the first place, that rare combination of genuine emotion and larger-than-life spectacle that only WWE can deliver at its absolute best. But just when it seemed like Roman had reclaimed his throne and reunited his family, Jacob Fatu came storming out and refused to acknowledge the tribal chief. He did not come out to celebrate. He did not come out to pledge his loyalty. He came out to issue a direct challenge to Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship at Backlash, and in doing so, he torched the Bloodline reunion before it even had a chance to breathe. The tension in that arena was suffocating. You could feel the entire crowd shift from pure joy to something far more uneasy, because everyone watching understood that Jacob Fatu is not just another challenger. He is family, and family wars in WWE always cut the deepest. Earlier in the night, Seth Rollins had been put through an absolute war by the members of the Vision, taking a brutal and sustained beatdown that left him battered and barely standing. The situation looked completely hopeless for the Visionary until the Street Profits came racing back to WWE in a moment that had the arena absolutely erupting. They evened the odds and gave Seth just enough breathing room to survive the night, but even after all of that chaos, even after everything his body had been through, Seth Rollins did not head to the locker room to recover. He did not call it a night and get on a plane home. Instead, he went looking for Roman Reigns, and what happened next in that parking garage is the kind of moment that defines careers and rewrites histories. Now, before we go any further, if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications for Wrestling Juice, because the story we are watching unfold right now is one of the most compelling and layered narratives WWE has put together in a very long time, and you absolutely cannot afford to miss a single chapter of it. We cover everything, the on-screen action, the backstage moments, the rumors, the real talk, all of it. So go ahead and subscribe right now, because this is only getting started. To truly understand the weight of what happened in that parking garage, you have to understand the history between these two men, and that history is long, painful, and deeply personal. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns go all the way back to the days of The Shield, one of the most beloved and dominant factions in WWE history. For a time, they were brothers in every sense of the word. They fought together, won together, and built something truly special inside that group. And then Seth Rollins took a chair and drove it into the back of his brothers, and everything shattered. The fallout from that betrayal has echoed through WWE programming for over a decade. Roman called Seth a snake. Seth called Roman a product of nepotism. They have torn each other apart in Hell in a Cell matches, in Royal Rumble showdowns, and even in the main event of WrestleMania. The bitterness between them has never fully healed, and frankly, most people assumed it never would. But professional wrestling, much like life itself, has a way of forcing people into corners they never expected to find themselves in. Because right now, both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have the exact same enemy, and that enemy is Paul Heyman and the Vision. Paul Heyman has been systematically building his power base for months, whispering his poison into the ears of anyone willing to listen. Bron Breakker is back and more dangerous and vicious than ever before. Logan Paul and Austin Theory are sitting on the World Tag Team Championships, and Paul Heyman is pulling every string from behind the curtain with the kind of calculated patience that has made him one of the most effective and dangerous minds in the history of this business. On top of all of that, Jacob Fatu is circling Roman Reigns like a shark that has smelled blood in the water, demanding everything the tribal chief has built, everything he has bled for, everything he has sacrificed his body for over the course of his legendary run at the top of WWE. The situation Roman finds himself in right now is genuinely precarious, and that makes the backstage meeting in the parking garage even more fascinating and significant. Roman Reigns just came off winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 42, defeating CM Punk in a grueling and war-level match that proved once again why Roman Reigns is one of the greatest professional wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots. He should be basking in the glory of that victory. He should be on top of the world without a single concern. But instead of celebrating, he is being forced to navigate a family member who wants to tear his crown off his head and a former Shield brother who just walked out of the shadows with an offer Roman never in a million years saw coming. Here is exactly what happened in that parking garage, and I want you to picture every single detail of this because it is worth savoring. After the show concluded and the fans began making their way out of the T-Mobile Arena, Roman Reigns and the Usos were walking through the backstage area toward their car in the parking garage. It was dark. The kind of quiet that only exists after a massive live event when the energy has drained out of a building and all that is left is echoing footsteps and the distant sound of the arena crew breaking things down. And then Seth Rollins stepped out of the shadows, not sprinting, not charging, not looking for a fight, just standing there, his chest still heaving from the punishment his body had absorbed earlier in the night, his eyes fixed on Roman Reigns with an intensity that could have cut through steel. Jimmy Uso immediately tensed up the moment he saw Seth. Jey Uso moved instinctively, stepping in front of Roman to create a barrier between his cousin and the man standing in the darkness. But Roman, without a single word, placed his hand on Jey's shoulder and gently but firmly pushed him aside. And then for 10 of the longest and most loaded seconds you can possibly imagine, nobody said a single word. The silence in that garage was absolutely deafening. Two men with more shared history than most people have in a lifetime, staring at each other across a divide that 11 years of war had carved between them. And then Seth Rollins spoke. His voice was low and raw and worn down in the way a voice only gets after someone has been carrying something heavy for a very long time. He said, "I know what we have been through. I know you will never forgive me for what I did. But Heyman played me the same way he is playing your cousin right now, and if we do not do something about it, there is not going to be anything left of either one of us." Roman's jaw tightened. You could see him processing every word, running it through that calculating mind of his, weighing it against everything he knows about Seth Rollins and everything he knows about Paul Heyman. He did not say yes. He did not say no. He looked at Seth, then at the Usos standing behind him, then back at Seth again. And then Roman Reigns did something that I genuinely never thought I would see in my life. He gave one slow, deliberate nod and he said, "We will talk, not tonight. But we will talk." Seth turned around and walked back into the darkness without another word. Roman got into his car. The Usos stood there in that garage staring at each other, both of them completely stunned by what they had just witnessed. I have been turning this moment over in my head constantly since it happened, and here is where I keep landing every single time. Paul Heyman has made a catastrophic miscalculation in his long game. He has spent all of this time building the vision into what he believes is an untouchable and unstoppable force. He has Bron Breakker running through people like a freight train. He has Logan Paul and Austin Theory as his champions, generating heat and attention from every direction. He has been operating like a chess grandmaster, always 3 moves ahead of everyone else in the room. But in all of his scheming and strategizing, Paul Heyman forgot one of the oldest and most fundamental rules of warfare. The enemies of my enemy are my friends. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have despised each other for 11 years, and that hatred is real and it is deep and it is not going anywhere. But they both carry a deeper hatred for Paul Heyman, a man who has spent decades using people as chess pieces and discarding them the moment they stop being useful. Seth Rollins knows this better than almost anyone alive because he lived it. He watched Heyman operate from up close, and he knows exactly what the man is capable of. And now Roman Reigns, the most calculating and intelligent mind in WWE, is beginning to connect those same dots. Because what is happening to Jacob Fatu right now, the way Fatu has been wound up and pointed at Roman like a weapon, has Paul Heyman's fingerprints all over it. Roman can see it. And that is exactly what Seth was counting on when he stepped out of those shadows. Jacob Fatu is a problem, but Jacob Fatu is family, and family, no matter how fractured and complicated the relationship gets, can always be reasoned with eventually. Paul Heyman is a different animal entirely. Paul Heyman is a snake who has been working his way through WWE for decades, wrapping himself around people, making them feel invincible, and then squeezing the life out of their careers the moment it serves his interests. He has done it over and over again, and the graveyard of people who trusted Paul Heyman and lived to regret it is longer than most people realize. What happened in that parking garage was not an alliance. It was not a truce. It was not a handshake deal or a promise of any kind. It was something quieter and more significant than all of those things combined. It was the first crack appearing in a wall that has been standing between these two men for 11 years. And once a wall starts to crack, no matter how thick it is, no matter how long it has been standing, it is only a matter of time before the whole thing comes down. And when that wall finally crumbles, when the tribal chief and the visionary decide that their shared enemy matters more than their shared history, Paul Heyman is going to discover very quickly that he has no plan in place for that scenario, because he never believed it was possible. This is the story Wrestling Juice is going to be watching closer than anything else in WWE right now, because everything that happens from this point forward flows directly through that dark parking garage and that single quiet nod from Roman Reigns. The Shield's shadow, that long, complicated legacy of brotherhood and betrayal and war, just got a whole lot darker and a whole lot more interesting. And I genuinely cannot wait to see where this road leads. Now I want to hear from you, because your perspective on this matters, and I read every single comment. After everything you just heard, after seeing Seth Rollins step out of those shadows and approach Roman Reigns backstage in that parking garage, do you think these two former brothers can genuinely set aside 11 years of hatred and stand together against the vision? Or do you believe the damage between them runs too deep to ever be repaired, no matter what kind of common enemy stands in front of them? Drop your take in the comments section right now, because I know this community has strong opinions and I want to hear all of them. And if this story is giving you chills the way it is giving me chills, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to Wrestling Juice so you never miss a moment of the coverage as this thing continues to unfold. I promise you, what comes next is going to be worth every second of your attention. This is Wrestling Juice, and we are just getting started.